Okay, so it's been a while since we've done a German football club history. We're looking at FC Heidenheim 1846 from Heidenheim in Baden-Württemberg, the state in Germany. They play at the Voith Arena, has a capacity of only 15,000, so one of the smaller Bundesliga stadiums. But this club, the original foundation goes back some way. The original sports club, which still exists today, was originally founded in 1846. Now, the football department of said sports club was set up in 1890. There's 25 different sports that are covered by the sports club, but the football club department was separated from the Heidenheim Sports Club in 2007, and it is since 2007 they've had a very meteoric rise from the fifth tier of German football to the Bundesliga. Yes, this is only their second ever Bundesliga season, and they're already playing in Europe. So let that sink in. It's been a very meteoric rise. Their manager's the longest serving manager in German football. Their captain's been with them since the fifth tier in 2007. So just let that sink in. This is a very, very regional German club with a very, very hardcore but small fan base. But their UEFA coefficient's very interesting because the team ranked below them has had a lot of success in German football, and I find that quite stunning that they're ranked higher than a former Bundesliga and DFB Pokal winner. So, the current club, as I say, was separated from the sports club in Heidenheim in 2007. So in 2007 they're in the German regional leagues. I think the Württemberg Regional League, that's the fifth tier. So similar to our non-league here in England, except the depth in Germany is a bit different, how they structure it with more regional competitions before you reach the National League system. They're in the fifth tier. Following season, for the 08-09 season, they've got promoted to the fourth tier. They play one season in the German fourth tier before getting promotion to the German third tier for the 2009-2010 season. Now, they will stay in the German third tier until the end of the 2013-2014 season, where they get promotion to the second tier Bundesliga, the Bundesliga 2. And they would stay there for several years between 2014 and 2023, when they won it outright in the 2022-2023 season to earn promotion to the Bundesliga for the first time in their history. Notice, between 2007 and 2023, they've gone from the fifth tier to the top flight. That is ridiculous. And in their first season in the Bundesliga, they ended up 8th. Now, the reason why they qualified for the Europa Conference League is Bayer Leverkusen won the DFB Pokal final against Kaiserslautern. Because of that win, they got European qualification, and they've basically been unbeaten in the Europa Conference League. Now, they had to obviously play the qualifying round against BK Häcken from Sweden. They beat them in both home and away, so they won on aggregate. They won the home leg 2-1, they won the away leg 3-2. So they won on aggregate 5-3, and that started their little European odyssey. They are still unbeaten. They have won every game in Europe they've ever played, which helps with the UEFA coefficient, which is a system that I'm not a massive fan of, but it's very interesting with that UEFA coefficient. They're ranked higher than Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg have won trophies, major trophies. Heidenheim haven't won anything yet, although if they carry on with this European run, we potentially could see them in a Conference League final with the way they're playing, because they beat Olympia Ljubljana 2-1 at home. Then they beat Paphos of Cyprus 1-0 away. And then I think the biggest win, and I think the biggest result in the club's history, and I will stress this, is beating Heart of Midlothian from Edinburgh, from the SPL, 2-0 away. That, I think, is potentially the biggest result in this club's history. It was a big night in Europe, major point for the club, and I think they've got Chelsea coming up next, and that will be interesting how they deal with an interesting Chelsea side with their, I wouldn't say they're indifferent, but Chelsea are all over the place. One week they're brilliant, one week they're average. We don't know what Chelsea are going to cook up, considering the ownership there. But they could be dangerous for Chelsea. This could be a very awkward matchup for Chelsea. So beating Hearts 2-0 away from home, that tells you a lot about the togetherness of this club and the culture they built there. So they've won every game in Europe. So I think they're going to qualify for the latter stages of the Europa Conference League with how they're playing. They're switched on in Europe. It is impacting their league form. So last season they finished 8th. They're currently 14th in the Bundesliga at the time of this international break as we are recording this video. Now, as I said, the UEFA coefficient, they are ranked higher than Wolfsburg. I find that hard to fathom. They're ranked 100th overall on the UEFA coefficient with a UEFA coefficient score of 15.257. And I've regularly been highly critical of the UEFA coefficient system and how it does penalise clubs from certain leagues in Europe since the system's been in place. I'm not a fan of the UEFA coefficient system. I think the way European club football is structured as well in regards to the European competitions since we lost the Cup Winners' Cup again is a hindrance to those clubs from lesser leagues. Make of that what you will. I think it has harmed the club game in Europe, and it has created a massive imbalance in the revenue sharing, because we had some great stories in the 80s and 90s of clubs from so-called lesser leagues having success in Europe. Steaua Bucharest is one that sticks out to me as a feel-good success story. You've obviously had, I think, was it Red Star or Partizan Belgrade is another one. And you don't get those underdog stories. Although Olympiacos did prove us wrong at the end of last season, it's more a rarity now than expected that a club from a so-called lesser league will go on a run. Now, Heidenheim obviously play in the Bundesliga, but they are a lesser club because they've had no major silverware, although they have obviously won regional competitions and regional cup competitions in Germany. They've not actually lifted any major honours that would go towards the UEFA coefficient. However, because of their current form in Europe, that bumps them up on the UEFA coefficient. I think they're the only side in the history of European competition never to lose a game in European football, because or win every game they've played in Europe up to this point, which is a ridiculous little record. I thought I'd just throw that little stat in there. It's a very interesting little club. I hope they do well in Europe this season. I hope they stay in the Bundesliga this season, because their league form has been slightly impacted, obviously, A, by the constant international breaks, and B, by their European campaign having those extra games. It is a step up when you're having to play domestic season and a European season, and it's this is uncharted territory for this club. But hey, they could go on a run in Europe and could surprise some people. It's going to be fun to see how Heidenheim continue throughout the rest of the season. But as things stand, they had a very good first Bundesliga season, solid 8th place finish, and they're in Europe, and they're doing very well. And we'll see how they fare against Chelsea later on in the Europa Conference League when European football resumes after the international break. That's going to be kind of fun to see. If they actually get a win against Chelsea, home or away, that could really set them up for a good European run. And it'll be fun to see how they do and where they end up. Could it be like a Deportivo Alves situation where they just went on a European run to a final in the UEFA Cup? And they obviously ultimately lost to Liverpool in extra time, but that was a fun little run. Could they do a Villarreal, for example, and win their first major honour in Europe? That could be fun to see as well. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on how FC Heidenheim are doing. I think it's been a fun little journey. And from where they were in 2007 to where they are now, that meteoric rise through the German league system shows that it is still possible for these lesser-known regional clubs to make the big time and then compete in the big time. It's something that, with the way things are going right now in football, could be harder to do, to have these feel-good stories while staying financially compliant with UEFA's new spending rules. Heidenheim have done it. They have a very good financial setup. They are very financially stable, and they have a very fanatical and passionate but small fan base. But hopefully they win some more fans this coming season with their European exploits. But for me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.